All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Paul. I'm very happy to greet you all at our today's PAW workshop, which will be covering a topic of public speaking confidence. And we'll basically talk about how you can face the crowd with the confidence and different ways and different tips. We'll discuss all of that. So, again, as I mentioned, this will be recorded, so be mindful of that, and the attendance form will be provided at the very end of our workshop. So let's start with the agenda for today's workshop. I want to cover these following areas. We'll start with speaking about what confidence is and how you can speak with the confidence yourself. Then I want to cover directly what the applications of text structure can be in your speech particularly. And then I want also to talk about how you can create a really good presentation and all different aspects of good presentations. Then after we'll cover all of that, I want to have a little bit of interaction with you guys, with the audience, because I believe that workshops are basically perfect place for that, right? It's perfect a place and perfect time for you to improve. You can discuss anything, you can practice here. That's why we all here to learn something, to discuss something. So I believe it's a really good opportunity for you to do that. And I want to just do a quick, basic, simple interaction with you guys. I will talk deeply more in details about that once we are done covering all the aspects first. And then at the very end of our workshop today, I just want to do a Q&A discussion as always, maybe 10, 15 minutes for that. You can ask me anything you want to relate it to the topic. You can just give me some feedback, mention some of your concerns or anything, your thoughts you want to. So yeah, let's start with the first area, which is speaking with confidence in general. Um, First, I want to say that when you think about confidence, a lot of people they tend to believe that the other people they might be born with confidence or they might be born with a more charismatic character, let's say, which helps them have that confidence during any public events, during any public speaking. And those people would be right because there are cases like that, and it's definitely an advantage of those people. But I can definitely assure you that confidence is something you can build in yourself and then you can learn, practice, and always improve in yourself. So that's why we are here, and I want to share some of the ways you can do that. Of course, it's a huge benefit for the people who initially and naturally have that, but the all of other people who are learning, they can be as good of a public speakers and as confident as the other people. Um, just by learning and improving themselves. So, when we talk about speaking with confidence, how you can do that, I divided that into three different areas. Know your subject first, then body language, how you can apply that to your speech, and then how you can construct your thoughts in what way you should do that for sounding confident and being confident in general. So, let's start from the first one, know your subject. I also want to mention that you don't need to prioritize any of these three because these three, in my opinion, are equally as important um, individually. That's why I would always suggest you to focus on all of them combined together and not prioritize any of this. So, yeah, let's talk about the knowing your subject area. For that, you want to research and more importantly, understand your material. Anything you're talking about, anything you're presenting, it could be everyday life, it could be presentation, it could be discussion, debates, anything. You always want to be confident in your head first. For that, you need to research, understand everything. Um, why you need to do that? First of all, I mentioned every single of these aspects is really crucial. And this one is specifically, it helps to boost your confidence in a way that When you are comfortable with your own thoughts in your head, and when you are comfortable with the material you are presenting, then your mind can only focus on being confident in general, and the way how you present that information, the way how you act, how you use your body language and everything. Because otherwise, when you are not so sure, when you are not so certain in the material you are presenting, you might get confused yourself. You might get mixed up in different thoughts and everything like that. So you, of course, don't want to do that. So that's why you need to always try and apply this way first before doing anything else, right? That also applies to many different events, such as presentations, debates, discussions, because there are always questions somewhere. It could be just a general, normal Q&A sessions at the end of your event. It could be a random question from the audience, or it could be just a random question from your professor, let's say. And during those questions, you always want to again sound really confident given the answers. So for you to do that, you need to understand the material. Because if you are not sounding too confident, the audience might not be so engaged with yourself and might not believe that you sound confident enough for that. So that's why it is so crucial and so important. Also, the questions might be related to your topic or to the area you researched, but maybe you didn't necessarily research that deeply enough to understand that specific aspect that you are being asked about. It's still fine, because as long as you understand the general area you are discussing or you are talking about, you can still adjust your answers to that. And because you understand that well enough, you can still sound very confident with your answers. Just applying that information to somehow adjusting that to the answer you are given, right? So that's about knowing your subject. The next thing I want to discuss here is body language during your speech. This is again another really crucial aspect. And there are so many different ways, there are so many different techniques and ways of how you can apply your body language, and in general, what the body language strategies are, techniques are. But today I want to talk about specifically techniques from Columbia University School of Professional Studies. They basically done a lot of research, and they've conducted various surveys to come out and identify these specific techniques, which are leadership gaze, resolute stance, emphatic gestures, vocal vigor, and then focused feedback. So let's just talk about them in more details. First one is leadership gaze. A leadership gaze is basically eye contact. And of course, we are taking this workshop online, so I cannot demonstrate you most of the techniques and all the ways of body language, because the only way you can make eye contact is basically staring at your camera now. So I understand it's not the best way to do that, but still, I need to talk to you about that and give you the ways and tips. So, leadership gaze is your natural eye contact with the audience, but there are also some techniques you want to do. First of all, when you want to sound confident and look confident and present confidently, you always want to have a straight eye contact with your audience. You don't want to look at the ceiling, look at the floor, or like uh, look at the sides of the room or anything like that. You don't want to hide your eyes from the audience. You always want to have that direct eye contact. Uh, Also, you don't want to have too much of an eye contact by switching your targets and switching your audiences. The best way to do that is you basically select one target, or you select one space in a room. Let's say it would be the middle area, and you may make an eye contact with that specific person or that specific space, right? And you only switch your target, when you are done with a specific thought or the train of thoughts you're having, or main idea you are discussing. Once you are done discussing that logical idea, then you can switch the target of your eye contact. That would be the best way to do that. Um, Next one is resolute stance. Resolute stance is basically how you position yourself during any public speaking event. Um, and the best way to do that is you always want to stand like in a very confident posture. You don't want to move throughout the whole room too much. You don't want to do that. Um, you want to stand still at one place, confident enough. The most important thing here is you don't want to cross your hands. You don't have your hands in the pockets or something similar to that, because it just shows that you're not really interested and you're not engaged with your audience or anything like that. So you don't want to show that. Um, if you want to switch places, it's a good thing to do that because you want to be closer to your audience or to different spaces in the room. You can do that, but it will be similar to the first thing when with the eye contact. You want to finish the idea or your thought first, and then you don't want to move while talking. You finish something first, and then you switch places quickly, and then you start with the next idea you want to discuss or anything like that. So that's the second one. The next one is emphatic gestures. Gestures would be the main part of your body language. So, and it will mainly involve only your hands. Um, this shows you how passionate you can be about any topic you are discussing, and this will definitely attract your audience to you and engage audience with whatever you are talking about, because it will just show the level of confidence, because it shows that you can not only control your thoughts and the way you speak, the manner you talk in, but also how you can control your body to like combine everything together. So it's just natural movement of your hands. Basically, you can put your hands up and I don't know, maybe like as similar as you're holding a ball or something. Do these gestures. So, but it's just natural, individual to everyone. As long as you use your hand while speaking, um, it's always a good way to show your passion and your confidence. The next one is vocal vigor. Vocal vigor basically means the level of your voice. Of course, it depends on the event you're doing, the speech you're doing. There might be a really small room you are in, there might be a really big room you are in, right? And the distance between you, the speaker, and let's say the last person on the last row could be really big. So you always need to just have that in mind, and you always need to understand in what volume you need to speak, um, and always try to adjust that. But the main idea is you always need to adjust to the very far person from yourself, and you need to sound as confident to them as to the person that is sitting in the first row, and that everybody in the room can hear you clearly enough and loudly enough. That's the main idea here. Um, Sometimes when the room is really big and it almost seems that you are being too loud and you are almost screaming, it seems to you, but it's not actually true um, a lot of times, because it's just the sound. It dissipates throughout the whole room. And if it sounds to you that you are being too loud or you're screaming too much, it might not be the case for the whole audience, and it might sound differently to everybody. So you don't need to worry about that too much. And the last side is focused feedback. Focused feedback is just the very last part of body language, of course, is how you can then reflect on what you've done and how you can improve yourself in the future. Of course, the best way is to visually look how you present it, right? So if you have any like video recording or anything like that, it would be the best way because you can literally see how you acted, and then make assumptions, adjustments based on that. Of course, sometimes visual video recording or anything same to that might not be an option. So in that case, you can just have a normal feedback. You can ask the people for the feedback, and be, just reflect then in what ways you can improve, like your body language, your gestures, stance, eye contact, everything. So there is that. Um, the this one I want to talk about this one. Rehearse in front of a mirror and ask a friend or family member to critique your speech. Now, uh, to many people, this might sound, let's say, like childish or even a little bit of a crazy thought or action to do, because you're just standing by yourself in front of a mirror, trying to rehearse something, or you are speaking out loud trying to rehearse something. That's not a good way to think about that, because this is probably the best way to actually practice, to actually improve by yourself only, without involving the whole audience or anything like that. And it's just a sign of a more matured mind. If you understand and you're comfortable with doing that, it's just a sign that you are basically looking at things from a different perspective, from a different side. So if you still think that this is a little bit childish or crazy, please don't. Just change your perspective a little bit, because this is really a more matured practice to do. So yeah, I would always advise that. Um, the next one for the speaking with confidence would be actually focusing on giving your best speech, and that involves how you construct your own thoughts. So you want your thoughts to be constructed always in a very logical and, let's say, rational even way. um, that's the most important thing, because when you are not sure what you will be talking about and how your thoughts will be constructed, it will be super hard for you to sound confident enough, because you might be very confused. You might get mixed up in your thoughts. You might be going back and forth with your ideas, and the people can see that very easily. And if they see that you are struggling yourself with what you're trying to say, with what you're trying to present, instantly the engagement, it dissipates. So you always need to have that understanding in your mind, how you should talk and how you should construct your thoughts. At the same time, you want to be very calm and confident. um, Being calm, why it's important? Because on the other hand, when you are really nervous, or let's say you are shy, it can play bad thing with your mind, because you won't be able to, again, construct your thoughts logically enough. You won't be able to sound confident enough, because you will just be struggling with focusing on your body language, with focusing on your confident level in general. You will be thinking about not being nervous too much, or not sounding weird or something like that. So always try to be as calm as possible before any public speech, any public event you're doing. Of course, there are so many ways, so many techniques, but they are very individual to every person. And so I'm sure every one of you have like a certain way, individual way to make yourself more calm. So always try to do that. And however, at the same time, you need to be very confident. And that's what we are basically talking about. Um, the ways I discussed before, this is how you can apply and improve your confidence levels in general. The last aspect here would be text as application. This is directly connected to logic in your thoughts, and I want to discuss it in more details here. So I'm sure every one of you knows what a text structure is, because this is basically what we've been studying from AC1, now ARC1, or AC2, ARC2, and it is used in all of the academic papers, even in the some major courses, whatever academic papers you are writing, most of them use the text structure as well. So I just quickly go through that, right? So T stands for topic sentence. You want to introduce and start your paragraph with the idea or the argument. Then E means explanation. So you trying to explain the argument, the idea a little bit more in details. Then it comes to X, which is example or evidence or that specific argument you want to use. And then A, analysis of your evidence and how it relates, and then is like supports the your idea specifically. And then summary. Summary, you basically summarize all the main ideas, all the key points you were discussing throughout the whole paragraph, and you want to refer your summary back to your topic sentence because it's your main idea of the whole paragraph, right? So my idea here is a Texas paragraph could be such a good fit to your speech in general. It can be a really good fit to your public events, public speech you're doing. So it can be a presentation, discussion, debate, anything. And it can also be as equally relevant to just your everyday life, normal life. If you can adjust this concept in your mind and train your mind to always think in this specific structure and construct your thoughts in this structure, they will always be very logically constructed and very clear in your head because there will always be the same structure. So you start with the idea, you mention the idea, then it could be like one or two sentences, just briefly explaining how this idea could be connected to the example or what this idea is about. Then you provide your example. You make your point. You provide your argument. But then again, one or two sentences of analyzing that. So maybe like again explaining why it's relevant, this specific argument, or maybe mentioning something else, something additional to that argument, and then at the end you summarize the whole thing, basically connecting that to your topic sentence. So when you think about it, it won't be long. It would be 5 sentences minimum. It's not that long, but however it's super good fit to any speech you're doing. If you can train your mind to always construct that and use that structure in your speech, then you will be always very successful in any public events you will be doing. Um, the best example would probably be a debate, right? Because in a debate, you specifically need to basically prove something or convince another person in the idea you are trying to prove, right? So you want, if you use this structure, then you will be more successful than ever because basically you will have all of the parts necessary to convince the other person, and your idea and everything will sound so clear, so specific, and at the same time confident if you apply the body language and all the other techniques, that it will be really hard for the other person like not to be at least engaged in what you are talking about, but also convinced about whatever you are saying. So that's my idea about Texas, and I would advise and suggest that you try to implement that in your like normal everyday life. Whenever you are talking to your friends or anybody you want to convince something, someone with in someone something, then try to use this structure, and then you will see how it will be useful for you later in your future when you will actually try to construct your thoughts in a logical, rational way. And the next thing here is creating a good presentation. And I also divided three it into three aspects. The first one are visual aspects. Second one is content, and the third one is audience engagement. So let's again discuss every one of them in more details. We'll start with visuals. So I would say visuals here are probably the most important aspect. because we are all human beings, right? And we always first see things, and we are attracted by visuals first. And once we are attracted and once we are engaged, then we start looking and focusing on the other things, on the content, on the everything else. But first, you need to attract your audience. So that's why creating a really good, visually attractive presentation, I would say, is a key thing here. Nowadays, I would say it's a very easy thing to do. It's not really hard because there are so many different softwares, different websites with really a bunch of different templates. So you can probably find whatever you want to, um, and then adjust that template to yourself, right? So you can just change some of the text. You can input any pictures you want to, anything like that. But basically, work on the visual side of things. The next area is content. For the content, I basically chose two main things to talk about. First is what information is important for your presentation. You need to identify that by yourself. Again, it comes back to research and understanding your topic. You need to focus and prioritize some ideas that you believe are the most important for your speech in general, and include that in your presentation. Because when the presentation covers too much, it might get very confusing for you, for your audience, for everybody. So you always want to be very specific, very clear, and identify the things you want to prioritize in your presentation. The next thing would be thesis. Um, I always suggest people to not include all of the information word for word that you will be talking and speaking out loud, um, because that refers again to the audience engagement. I will talk about that in the next step. Um, of course, there are cases sometimes you want the when you actually need to include word for word the information you will be talking about. It can include like in-text citation, direct quotations, right? It can include definitions or let's say scientific terms, because even if you are sure, let's say, what your targeted audience is, a lot of times, I would say almost always, there are people in that audience that might not be super confident with the topic, with the area, and they might not know about specific terms or specific definitions. So specifically for those people, it's always good to include um, like the whole definition in your presentation, and then also state the same thing verbally, because in that case they will be able to just visually see and then they hear from you and combine those for the better understanding of things in general. uh, and now we talk about this audience engagement part. There are different ways for in how you can engage your audience basically. First of all is manner of speaking. This is the confidence part. Again, everything we talked about, how you can use your body language, how you can be confident, how you can improve your confidence level, everything, how you can construct your thoughts. This is the part of manner of speaking, and how loud, how confident your voice is as well. Next part is interacting with audience. This is divided into two parts, I would say. One part is presentations, visuals, and content. This is like a passive interaction with your audience. Like your audience is passively engaged just by seeing and looking at the visuals, at the content of your presentation. And here I want to go back to the thesis part I discussed earlier, right? Why you don't want to include everything word for word, what you will be talking about. Because a lot of people, once they see that you actually are talking the very same thing that is included in your presentation, that is written in your presentation, they most likely will just like neglect you. later on, because they will be able to look at the slide for maybe like 30 seconds, 1 minute, read through the whole information, understand that you are literally talking about the same thing, and just don't pay too much attention to you. That's the issue of audience engagement. So on the other hand, when you're including only like key parts, a thesis, then it engages audience even more, because they are focused on completely listening to you and fully listening to you. That's why it's so important. The other way how you can interact with your audience is basically by yourself, right? So you can come up with different activities or different ways how to engage. It could be interactions, anything you want to do. It could be questions, some other activities. So it's not passive anymore. It's coming from you directly. So it's up to you to decide if you want to. Of course, it depends always on the type of the event you're doing. So there's that. Uh, and the last part of the whole speech comes after you're actually done with your speech, with your event, is feedback and reflection. This is very important, because this is how you then improve and you become better. So you want to evaluate your performance, you want to take notes to think about, and then ask others for the feedback. Um, Again, try to combine everything together, because every element here is very important. Evaluating your performance by yourself, nobody can do it better by yourself than yourself, because when you ask other people for the feedback, different people have their own opinions, different people have their own preferences. Some people might be biased, some people might not be biased. So you try to evaluate all of those feedbacks and all of those thoughts in your head. Try to look at things from different sides, from different perspectives, and try to see how you can improve, how you can be better in like engaging and adjusting to every type of the person in the audience, and covering everything you can. And then taking notes to think about. When the thoughts are just in your head, they might be mixed up. There might be so many of them, especially if there are so many feedback to think about. There might be so many thoughts in your head. But once you actually put those thoughts on paper and take notes, you are again logically constructing them, and you are structuring them well enough to then understand how you can apply that knowledge, how you can improve yourself and reflect on these thoughts that you already put on paper. That's the best way to do that. All right. So that's everything I wanted to discuss from myself. And now I just want to, again, as I mentioned, do a quick interactive with you guys, with the audience, because again, we discussed it's a very crucial thing to make your audience engage in whatever you are doing and whatever you're presenting. So my idea today is I want basically you guys to share something. Um, it could be any of your previous experiences. It could be you can say that you are nervous during a public speech event. You can say that you are shy, or you might be really good at public speaking, and you can share your experience about that, right? But I want you to talk about that using all the knowledge, everything we've discussed so far here. So even if you are nervous, I want to apply like confidence knowledge, and I want you to sound confident enough just telling that story to us. So I believe that again, like workshops, the best place for practice, because it's the best opportunity, best perfect time for you to do that. Because we are all here to learn. It's an online thing, so it might be easier for you. You can uh, keep your camera turned off and just talk. And it's also a really perfect opportunity for you to receive any feedback from all of us. So once a person is done, you can just text any feedback provide any feedback for them. It might be just a full positive one, only compliments. It might be some constructive feedback, how they can improve, in what ways. Of course, again, it's online. We cannot see all the body language aspects and something like that, but just in general, how the person sound, is they are they sounding confident enough, or is their thoughts logical enough and constructed well enough, and the manner of talking is really good. So let's just try to do that. I want to have like maybe one or two volunteers, anyone who want to practice, anyone. um, you can just unmute yourself and share something with us. So any experience you had with the public speaking events, anyone that wants to do that? Let's see, we have like 16 people here, so anyone willing to do that? It can be really simple and really brief, so don't be shy, don't be nervous. Let's just wait for a minute. If anyone wants to do that, then of course go ahead, because again, I think it would be really useful for most of you guys. If not, we'll just move to the Q&A section then, I guess, and try to discuss something there. Mm, let's see. So I'll ask one last time. Anyone wants to try that? Anyone wants to volunteer for that? All right. Yeah, it's completely fine then. Let's move to the Q&A discussion then. Basically, any questions you might have, any thoughts, any concerns, any feedback you want to provide, you can discuss here. So not necessarily talking, you might just post your questions in chat uh, whenever you want to. So let's have like, I would say 10, 15 minutes of a discussion, and then we can end our workshop here. So anything you want to discuss or talk about related to the topic. I will just look in chat to wait for any questions you guys might have. Okay, so I have a question here from Jerry. How important do you think Texas format is? Um, there are two ways, right? The first one is related only to academic writing. I think in academic writing, Texas format is important because um, it should be first of all important for you because it's like a good template. It's a really simple and clear template you can always use to construct and write any paragraph you want to, right? So whenever you have a clear structure, it's always good for you to just include all those parts based on your topic and write the very good, clear, specific paragraph. When I was talking about applying Texas to your speech, uh, again, I think it it could be even more important. If you want to sound good, if you want to sound confident enough, and you have that same template from the writing part in your head, it will just give you so much more opportunities to always put your thoughts in that specific template, and then you will be able to talk about anything confidently enough, because your thoughts would always sound clear and logical if you are able to like implement that Texas format well enough. If you practice, if you try to implement that like during your normal everyday life, then yeah, I think it could be really important, and it is very important, I would say, in both of those areas. So does that answer your question? Yeah, okay, great. Thank you very much for asking that. I appreciate that a lot. Anyone else have anything to talk about, discuss, ask anything you want regarding this topic, being confident, public speaking, um, different assignment you are doing, right? Because um, I feel like there should be people both from ARC 1, ARC 2. I know there are like student-led discussions in some classes, so there are presentations in other classes. Anything you want to ask for or discuss? Maybe you have concerns, some issues, anything. Okay, and here is another question. How can we prepare an answer to a sudden question confidently in front of the crowd? That the part I discussed briefly, right? That comes from your initial research and understanding of the topic in general. So most of the time, when you are presenting or doing a public speech, you know what the like area is or what the topic is, and as long as you don't necessarily need to like study everything and cover all the aspects that topic might include and think of like every possible question you can be asked. No, you don't need to do that. You just need to understand like the main crucial parts of the area of the topic, right? And then when you are asked that sudden question and you are not sure what the answer is, for example, because you didn't look for that, you didn't study that, you can still apply whatever knowledge is in your head. It might be, again, main ideas, crucial parts from that topic. It might be some of your own knowledge, maybe your own experience, maybe the knowledge from the other subjects, the other topics. It could be whatever. But as long as you can adjust all of those knowledge, all of those thoughts to that sudden question, you will sound confident enough. You should sound confident enough because you are comfortable with the knowledge you have in your head, and you are comfortable with the thoughts you have in your head, and you are just adjusting those thoughts to the question, right? So you might just give an answer, just analyzing or just discussing the question yourself. You might say, um, that you have the other knowledge and you think this knowledge can be applied in this way to this question, something like that. So as long as you construct the ideas logically, say speak with confidence, show that you are comfortable, not just be shocked or be surprised by a question. Don't say that you don't know the answer. Don't say that you are not confident or you are uncertain about the answer. Never do that. Always try to not show that you are not comfortable, because there are always aspects you are comfortable with. It could be, again, different knowledge in your head, and you understand that and you are comfortable with that. So always try to apply that to any question you asked about. As long as you do that, you should be fine, and you always can sound confident enough for that. So I would say just try to always look at things from a different ways, from a different perspective. Don't be too straight. Even if the question is very specific, very straight, there are always ways how you can adjust that in your head. How you can even change a question a little bit by yourself so it sounds comfortable to you. And then you'll give a perfect answer for that. So yeah, that's the way. That's actually how it's done in like politics and other big events also, and other big spheres areas most of the time, right? Because you know how they say like that politicians, they always try to adjust the questions to themselves to give the most comfortable answer from their perspective. So I would say try to do that, and you'll always be fine and confident. So yeah. Mm, does it answer your question? Yeah, no problem at all. Thank you very much for again asking. Uh, are there any other questions or anything you want to discuss? I'll just wait for maybe 1 or 2 minutes, and then we can, I guess, finish the workshop for today, and I'll give you an attendance a link. If you don't have any questions or anything like that you want to discuss, you can just share your thoughts about how did you like the workshop at all? Did you like the way I was talking? Was everything clear? Basically, just you can give me any feedback you want. I discussed how important the feedback is. I'm not the exception here. I always try to look at the feedback, try to improve, try to make the workshops better, because we as a PAW, we are doing this workshop specifically for you guys. So it's always very important to understand what areas we need to improve or we might need to improve. Was everything clear, interesting? Were you engaged, as I was talking about, into the workshop or anything like that? Just you can share. And again, like I understand that this is a complex topic, especially for the online workshop, because I feel like it would be so much better for everyone, for me and for you, to have this in person, to have this discussion in person, because we will just be able to demonstrate all of the body language techniques, the stances, everything. So the sound, because online is just it just feels different, but still. All right, so I don't see any more questions or anything else in chat, so I guess we can just stop it here. So yeah, thank you very much again for coming, everybody. I appreciate it a lot. I hope it was useful for you. I just want to quickly mention that it doesn't matter how nervous you are, how shy you are, do not be afraid to be confident during your public speaking events, during your speech and everything. And I hope the workshop was very useful for you. You'll be able to apply those knowledge in your future. Here's a QR code for the attendance. So you can just scan it. If you can't, I'll just provide a link for you as well in chat. Let's see. Here's the link. Uh, be mindful though that the link only works for 10 minutes after the workshop is finished. So please try to submit it as soon as possible if you want your attendance to be recorded. But other than that, yeah, again, thank you very much. I appreciate every single one of you for coming today, and good luck with everything. Have a great day, have a great week, and be confident. Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, no worries. Thank you very much, guys, again, everyone.